Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. We're diving into something interesting today. Actually, especially for all of you HealthWorks fans out there.
Oh, yeah.
This one's really for you guys. This deep dive, we were inspired by some stuff we saw from HealthWorks.
Mm-hmm.
And as always, they give us the best material.
Always thought purple.
Really gets us thinking.
Yeah.
It's all about foods that could be doing us more harm than good. Kind of a different way to look at it.
Yeah, for sure. We're always focused on what we should be putting into our bodies.
Right.
But what about the things that we should be avoiding?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we have two sources that we're going to be looking at today. One is from the MD Anderson Cancer Center, and they focus specifically on foods that are linked to cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we've got that HealthWorks piece that we were just talking about that's
Yeah.
going to be talking about things that are impacting our overall health and longevity.
Yeah.
So if you're new to the deep dive, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future episodes.
We love having you here.
Okay, so let's get into these sources. Let's unpack them. Starting with MD Anderson, they highlight some pretty interesting connections between certain foods and drinks and an increased risk of cancer. And one of the ones that they highlight is red meat. Even in moderate amounts, it appears to be linked to colorectal cancer.
Yeah. And they actually give some portion recommendations, which I found to be super helpful.
Oh, interesting.
They suggest limiting red meat to under 18 ounces a week,
Okay.
which is, roughly the size of like 6 decks of cards.
Okay, yeah. That's a good visual.
Yeah, it gives you something to think about. Like, how much are you actually consuming?
Absolutely. And it's not just about how much we're eating, but also how we're cooking it, right?
Right.
They say that when we use high heat cooking methods, like grilling,
Yeah,
that can actually produce cancer-causing compounds.
that's right. So we're talking about things like HCAs, heterocyclic amines, and PAHs, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. And those form when the meat is cooked at those high temperatures. And research has shown like a direct link between those and cancer development.
So what are some alternatives? Like if we're trying to cut back on red meat, what are some healthier options?
Well, they recommend focusing on plant-based protein sources because those are naturally lower in those harmful compounds.
Okay.
And, if you do still enjoy eating meat, leaner options like poultry and seafood are a better bet.
Makes sense. Now, another thing that they talk about is processed meats, things like deli meats, hot dogs, bacon.
Right, right.
All those are linked to an increased risk of colorectal and stomach cancers.
Yeah, the concern there is the nitrates and nitrites that are used to preserve those meats.
Okay.
Those have been linked to cancer formation in the body.
Got it.
So it's a good strategy to look for like nitrate-free options if you can, and always compare labels just to make sure that you're making informed choices.
It's crazy to think that, like, these small choices that we make can have such a big impact on our health.
Yeah.
It really makes you think twice about what you're putting in your shopping cart.
Absolutely.
Okay, so another one that they bring up is alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
And they say that it's been linked to so many different types of cancer. Stomach, colorectal, esophageal, liver, pancreatic, and even breast cancer.
And there's a reason for that. Alcohol actually damages our tissues over time,
Yeah.
and that damage can lead to changes in our DNA,
Okay.
which increases the risk of developing cancer.
So are they saying absolutely no alcohol? Like, what's the recommendation there?
Well, I mean, the ideal, according to research, is to avoid it completely.
Right.
But, they do acknowledge that that's not necessarily realistic for everybody.
Right.
So if you are going to drink, moderation is key. That means no more than 1 drink per day for women and 2 for men.
Okay, so that's some pretty sobering, pun intended, information
Yeah.
from the MD Anderson Cancer Center. But now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about what HealthWorks has to say about foods that impact our longevity and our metabolic health.
Yeah, so they really emphasize the importance of keeping our glucose and insulin levels in check
Okay,
if we want to age well, gracefully.
makes sense.
And they even give a specific target to aim for, and that's a hemoglobin A1C level, which is a measure of long-term blood sugar control.
Got it.
And they say under 5.
Okay,
Ideally, closer to 4.5 for optimal health.
got it.
And this is where it gets really interesting, I think, because HealthWorks really singles out fructose or sugar as a major culprit in accelerating aging.
Okay, so sugar is the enemy. Tell me a little bit more about that. Like, how does it impact our bodies?
Well, it all comes down to oxidative stress,
Okay.
which you can think of like as rust forming on a car.
Okay,
Sugar essentially contributes to this rusting process in our cells.
got it.
And it leads to inflammation and damage that makes us more vulnerable to, age-related diseases.
Mhm.
And it's not just the obvious culprits like, candy bars and soda. It's refined flour and sugar that sneak into so many processed foods.
Right.
And those, wreak havoc on our blood sugar,
Yeah.
hinder fat burning, and, essentially just slow down our metabolism.
So those refined carbs are basically sabotaging our efforts to stay healthy and age well.
Pretty much, yeah.
Sounds like HealthWorks has quite the hit list of foods that we should be avoiding.
Yeah.
What's at the top of the list?
Well, they really go after wheat bread.
Oh, wow.
And, they have some interesting reasons for that.
Wheat bread. Really, that's a surprising one. I've always considered it a pretty healthy staple,
Yeah, no, I get it.
What's the issue with it?
Well, they point to a couple of potential problems. First, there's the presence of Bt toxin, which is a natural pesticide that's used in some wheat farming.
Okay.
And they believe that could be impacting our gut health.
Bt toxin. I've never even heard of that. What's the concern there?
It's designed to kill insects that feed on wheat,
Okay.
but HealthWorks is suggesting that it might have some unintended consequences for the beneficial bacteria in our gut,
Okay.
which, as we know, play such a crucial role in digestion and, overall health.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. What's the other issue with wheat bread?
They also bring up glyphosate, which is the herbicide that's commonly used on wheat crops, and they're linking it to leaky gut.
Okay.
Which is a condition where the lining of our intestines becomes more permeable, so it allows substances to pass into the bloodstream that shouldn't be there.
Leaky gut. That doesn't sound very pleasant. What are the implications of that?
Well, it can lead to inflammation throughout the body,
Okay.
and it's been linked to a whole range of health problems.
Got it.
And there's more. HealthWorks also references studies showing that people who ate wheat bread actually consumed about 400 more calories per day than those who didn't.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
Yeah, it's significant.
Why do they think that is?
Well, they attribute it to the gluten in wheat. They suggest that it might have appetite-stimulating effects,
Okay.
leading us to eat more than we would otherwise.
Got it.
So wheat bread, even though it seems so innocent, might actually be contributing to weight gain.
Interesting. Okay, so wheat bread is on the avoid list.
Yeah.
What else does HealthWorks call out?
Well, next up we have diet soda,
Okay.
specifically those containing aspartame,
Okay.
also known as NutraSweet.
Okay.
And I think this is where it gets really interesting because, most people think of diet soda as like the healthier alternative to regular soda.
Right.
Right. But HealthWorks explains that aspartame is what's called an obesogen.
Okay.
Basically, it's a chemical that can disrupt your metabolism
Okay.
and potentially lead to weight gain, which seems so counterintuitive for a diet drink,
So it's not only not helping with weight loss, it could actually be contributing to weight gain.
That's what they're suggesting. Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
And it gets worse. Aspartame can also stimulate the hunger hormone ghrelin,
Okay.
making us feel even hungrier.
So it's messing with our hormones and making us crave more food.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, that's not good.
Not good at all.
And then on top of that, it can negatively impact the microbiome,
Right.
further affecting blood sugar control.
Exactly.
Oh, man. All right. So we've got wheat bread and diet soda on the avoid list. What else? What else should we be wary of?
This one might surprise you, but they also recommend limiting our intake of fruit juice,
Really?
particularly orange juice.
Come on, orange juice can't be that bad, right? It's packed with vitamin C.
I know that's what we've always been told.
Right.
But HealthWorks is warning that a glass of orange juice is essentially equivalent to a cup of sugar,
Yeah.
causing those dreaded blood sugar spikes and crashes that we talked about earlier.
I guess you're right. I have definitely felt that sugar rush and crash after drinking orange juice. So even though it's like, it seems healthy, it's really not doing us any favors.
Exactly. And those fluctuations in blood sugar, they're really damaging to our insulin levels over time
Okay.
and can contribute to insulin resistance, which is a precursor to type 2 diabetes.
Got it. So are all juices off the table? What about like a juice cleanse? Is that okay?
Well, they do mention that juice cleanses can be problematic as well, unless they're strictly green juice based.
Okay.
So it's really all about being mindful of the sugar content.
All right. So we've got wheat bread, diet soda, and fruit juice.
Mm-hmm.
What else is on HealthWorks' list of foods to avoid? I'm a little scared to ask.
Well, they have a few more recommendations, but why don't we take a pause here
Okay.
and come back to those in just a moment.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
What are your initial thoughts on what we've covered so far?
Yeah, I'm curious to hear.
I'm definitely surprised by some of these foods, especially wheat bread and orange juice.
Yeah.
Like I said, I always consider those to be pretty healthy choices,
Right.
but now I'm kind of rethinking that for sure.
It really highlights the importance of looking beyond the surface, I think,
Yeah.
and understanding how different foods impact our bodies on a deeper level.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fascinating.
I think it's so easy to fall into these traps of like, what we think is healthy
Oh, yeah.
versus what's actually healthy.
Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Exactly. And I also want to remind everyone that we're doing this deep dive to help you make more informed choices about your health.
Absolutely.
And if you're finding this information valuable, um, please hit that subscribe button and share this episode with your friends and family.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
We want to get this information out to as many people as possible.
Absolutely.
We're all about empowering you to take control of your well-being one bite at a time.
One bite at a time. Exactly.
All right, so now that we've unpacked the avoid list, are you ready to delve into some of the solutions that HealthWorks proposes for undoing the damage of past dietary choices and optimizing our health moving forward?
I'm ready when you are.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so let's jump back into HealthWorks list.
Okay.
They advise being cautious with conventional fruits, particularly apples and bananas.
Interesting. Why those specifically? I've always considered apples and bananas to be pretty healthy snacks.
Well, HealthWorks claims that most conventional fruits are genetically modified, and in that process, they lose a lot of their nutritional value.
Mm. So they're saying that these fruits are basically dead foods, lacking the vitamins and minerals we expect from them. That's a pretty bold claim.
Yeah, it is. They recommend seeking out organic or locally grown fruits whenever possible, where they're using practices that prioritize soil health and biodiversity.
It makes you really think about the impact of modern agricultural practices on the nutritional content of our food. What else is on the list?
Okay, next up is instant oatmeal. They claim it's highly refined, low in fiber, and spikes blood sugar, just like all those other processed carbs we talked about.
So it's back to good old-fashioned rolled oats or steel-cut oats for a slower, more sustained energy release.
Exactly. And they also call out conventional potatoes as being essentially starch bombs.
Okay.
They suggest that we opt for sweet potatoes or other varieties that offer more nutritional value and have a lower impact on blood sugar.
So it's all about choosing the right type of potato and preparing it in a way that doesn't send our blood sugar soaring. What about vegetables? Any surprises there?
Yes, actually. They advise against relying on iceberg lettuce as our main source of greens.
I think we've all been guilty of that at some point.
Mm.
Ordering a salad and thinking we're making a healthy choice, only to realize it's mostly iceberg lettuce with a few token veggies thrown in.
Right. And HealthWorks points out that iceberg lettuce offers very little nutritional value compared to more nutrient-rich greens like spinach kale or even dandelion greens.
So it's about choosing those darker leafy greens that are packed with vitamins and minerals and antioxidants.
Exactly. And they also caution against sticking to limited vegetable varieties in general. They use this interesting term monoculture to describe what happens when we eat the same vegetables over and over again.
Monoculture.
Mm.
That sounds kind of intense for talking about veggies.
Well, they're referring to the impact on our gut microbiome.
Okay.
So when we limit our veggie intake to just a few favorites, we end up feeding only a subset of our gut bacteria, which can create an imbalance in our internal ecosystem.
So it's like we're limiting the diversity of our gut flora, which we know is so important for overall health.
Exactly. And this can have downstream effects on our immune system, blood sugar regulation, even neurotransmitter production.
Wow. I never realized that sticking to the same veggies could actually be detrimental to our health. I'm definitely going to have to branch out and experiment with some new varieties.
Yeah, variety is key when it comes to nourishing our gut microbiome. And speaking of variety, HealthWorks also challenges us to rethink our choice of cooking oils.
Oh, this is one I've been curious about. What do they have to say about cooking oils?
Well, they specifically advise avoiding common oils like canola vegetable, cottonseed corn, partially hydrogenated sunflower, safflower, and soybean oil.
Wow, that's quite a list. It seems like almost every oil I've ever used is on there.
I know, it can be overwhelming. But they explain that these oils can promote inflammation and insulin resistance, which, as we've discussed, are at the root of so many chronic health problems.
So what are we supposed to cook with if all those common oils are off limits?
Well, they suggest some healthier alternatives like MCT oil, ghee, avocado oil, olive oil, and flaxseed oil.
Okay, those sound a little more familiar. I think I can handle making that switch. It's amazing how much we take for granted when it comes to the ingredients we use every day.
It's true. We often don't think twice about the oils we use for cooking or the types of fruits and vegetables we buy, but this deep dive is really highlighting the importance of being mindful of those choices.
Absolutely. It's all about empowering ourselves to make informed decisions that support our health and well-being. But I have to admit, this information is a bit overwhelming. Where do we even begin to make changes?
That's a great question. And I think HealthWorks provides some helpful guidance on that as well.
Okay.
They offer solutions, not just warnings. But before we jump into that, why don't we pause here for a moment and reflect on what we've learned so far? What stands out to you as the most surprising or impactful takeaway?
I think for me, the most surprising revelation was the potential downsides of wheat bread. I've always considered it a staple in a healthy diet, but now I'm definitely rethinking that.
Yeah, it's a common misconception, and it just highlights the importance of questioning our assumptions about food and really digging deeper to understand how different ingredients affect our bodies.
Exactly. And I also want to emphasize that this deep dive is all about empowering you, our listeners, to make informed choices about your health.
Right.
And it's not about fear-mongering or creating unnecessary restrictions.
Yep.
It's about understanding the potential impact of our food choices and finding what works best for each of us individually.
I couldn't have said it better myself. We're all about promoting a balanced and sustainable approach to health and wellness.
Absolutely. So now that we've unpacked the avoid list, are you ready to explore some of the solutions that HealthWorks proposes for undoing the damage of past dietary choices and optimizing our health moving forward?
I'm ready when you are.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground in terms of foods we might want to reconsider, but I'm curious, what does HealthWorks suggest we do to mitigate any damage we might have already done? Is there any hope?
Absolutely. HealthWorks offers two powerful tools for getting back on track:
Okay,
intermittent fasting and exercise.
okay. Intermittent fasting has become pretty popular these days.
Yeah.
How does it help undo the damage from these harmful foods?
Well, they explain that intermittent fasting is one of the most effective ways to reduce oxidative stress.
Okay.
That cellular resting process that we talked about earlier,
Right, right.
which accelerates aging and increases inflammation.
So it's like giving our bodies a chance to detox and repair.
Exactly. And exercise, particularly high-intensity workouts, can also help combat the negative effects of these foods. It boosts our metabolism, improves insulin sensitivity, and helps our bodies process sugar more efficiently.
Okay. So even if we've indulged in some of these no-no foods in the past, there's hope for getting back on track with a few lifestyle adjustments.
Hmm.
It sounds like HealthWorks is all about empowering us to take control of our health through, conscious food choices and lifestyle habits.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that we have more power than we realize when it comes to our well-being.
I'm feeling inspired to make some changes. What about you?
Definitely. This deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me too. I'm already mentally rearranging my pantry and planning my next grocery shopping trip.
Me too. I think I'm going to start by swapping out those conventional oils for some of the healthier options HealthWorks recommends,
Yeah.
and maybe experiment with a few new leafy green varieties.
Those are great first steps. Small changes can make a big difference over time.
Absolutely. It's all about taking it one step at a time and finding what works best for our individual needs and preferences.
And remember, it's not about perfection.
Right.
It's about progress and
Right.
making, conscious choices that support our long-term health.
Well said. I
Right.
think this deep dive has given us a lot to think about and hopefully empowers all of you listening to make some positive changes in your own lives. A huge thank you to HealthWorks for providing such valuable and thought-provoking information.
It's been a fascinating exploration of the connection between food and health, and it really underscores the importance of being informed and mindful of what we put into our bodies.
Couldn't agree more. And for all of you listening, keep those questions coming. We love diving deep with you.
And don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with your friends and family so they can join us on this journey of discovery.
Spread the knowledge. We'll be back next week with another deep dive into a fascinating topic. Until then, stay curious and keep exploring.